By now, many have seen the video of Delonte West getting beat up on the freeway and the subsequent video of him shouting nonsense after. While many may have memed and made fun of the situation, this video was a wake-up call to people that Delonte was in much needed help. The thing is, this wasn't the first time that West had cried out for help. In 2008, in an interview with ESPN, West stated that he removed himself from the team, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time, to get his thoughts back together and that he was feeling anger and wanted to throw it all away and quit the team. "I needed help," West said. At that time, while he was taking medication and having therapy sessions, it's clear that it just wasn't enough. From 2008 and on, West continued in the downward spiral of mental health, leading to poor financial decisions, to the point where he admitted that he had applied to Home Depot during the 2011 lockout. Keep in mind that West had earned $16 million in his NBA career. He tweeted out more cries for help, saying, "Broke down in the ATM line, 25 cars behind me, and I already reached my daily limit. I'm broke and my car is broke. Where is my therapist?" The worst thing about this whole situation is that his cries for help fell on deaf ears, and thus he continued in his downward trajectory. He's been seen begging for money under freeways, and eventually, he is where he is today, an unrecognizable version of himself. Whether it be substance abuse, drug abuse, or just financial issues, the main reason that Delonte is in this position is undeniably because of a mental health issue, mainly bipolar disorder. But while I could cover what happened to Delonte like many on the platform already have, I'd like to shift my focus on the topic of mental health in the NBA, which I, like many people, believe is the biggest and least talked about problem in the league. Let's start with mental health statistics in general, provided by the National Alliance on Mental Illness. 19.1% of US adults have experienced mental illness in 2018, equating to 47.6 million people, or 1 in 5 adults in the United States. 4.6% of these adults have had a serious mental issue or a mental illness in 2018, which represents 1 in 25 adults. 16.5% of US youth aged 6 to 17 have experienced a mental disorder in 2016, and 3.7% of US adults experienced a co-occurring substance use disorder and mental illness in 2018. And even though all these stats show that a lot of people in the United States experience mental illness or have had an experience with it, only 43.3% of US adults received treatment for a mental illness in 2018. And why do you think the number is so low? Well, it's because there is this stigma on mental health that if you reach out and ask for help, you will be perceived as weak. So imagine this in a professional athlete sense. Many people believe that there should be no reason that an NBA player can be depressed because they make millions of dollars playing the sport they love. In fact, TNT analyst Charles Barkley and former NBA All-Star has made comments on this, stating that these guys make $20 to $40 million a year, work 6 to 7 months a year, and stay in the best hotels. They don't have any problems, and that's bogus. It's worth noting that former NBA player and analyst Jay Williams told Barkley that instead of attacking these people and saying, "Hey, you've got problems in the world, you don't walk in their shoes, you may have made money, you may have been a superstar, but you do not walk in the shoes of these individuals, and you were not raised in the age of social media. You don't know how that can affect you when you're raised with that, so show empathy towards that." Barkley's statement is an example of the biggest problem in regards to mental health. The fact of the matter is that mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and eating disorders can happen to anybody. So with this in mind, we have to remember that while these NBA players may be some of our biggest inspirations and may seem to be superhuman, that is not the case. These people are human and we should treat them as such. Who remembers Larry Sanders? He was the 15th pick of the 2010 NBA draft and was projected to be one of the premier defensive big men in the league after averaging 2.8 blocks and 9.5 rebounds in his breakout campaign of the 2012-13 season. After this season, he played just 50 total games, battling through injuries and various suspensions due to violating the NBA's drug policy. However, what many failed to see was that Sanders, in the background of everything, was battling anxiety, depression, and mood disorders, which may have been the reason he turned to drugs for a sense of relief and escape. In his retirement video on the Players Tribune website and on YouTube, Larry stated that he wanted to focus on what was important, and that ultimately he realized for basketball to be consuming so much of his life and time, it wasn't there for him. It's not worth it. In the same interview, he states the NBA is seen to be a desirable and lucrative job. So many people say, how can you be unhappy? But the thing is that his real value and riches is in the relationship with the people that he loves. He realized that this is where happiness was, and that happiness isn't a golden gate, it's internal. Who remembers Royce White? He was the 16th pick of the 2012 NBA draft by the Houston Rockets due to his NBA-ready body and his point forward skill set. However, unlike many NBA players/prospects, White had voiced his anxiety issues publicly. And although he stated publicly that he had these issues, the Rockets and the NBA failed to set up a protocol in order to support these issues, which led to White publicly criticizing the league. This led to numerous questions from the media about White's status to the Houston Rockets, which in turn led to conflicting answers between White and the Rockets. Eventually, White publicly stated that the chances were very high that he would never play in an NBA game ever because of a league-wide lack of protocol on mental health issues. White eventually only played in 3 total NBA games for the Sacramento Kings before moving on from the league, playing a total of 9 minutes. Not even NBA stars, the ones that we look up to, are immune to this problem. One of the biggest advocates for mental health in the league is star forward Kevin Love, who has spoken openly about his mental health in one of the most viewed Players Tribune articles of all time, titled "Everyone is Going Through Something." In this article, he states on November 5th, 2017, that he had a panic attack during a halftime game against the Atlanta Hawks. He said since that day, his view on mental health has changed, stating that for 29 years, he thought about mental health as someone else's problem, and that asking people for help and opening up was never for him. He stated that he thought this because he did not want to look weak, reinforcing the idea that athletes couldn't have mental health issues because of their monetary status and fame. Demar Derozan, the star shooting guard for the San Antonio Spurs, is also one of the biggest advocates for mental health in the NBA. He has spoken openly about his depression, saying that basketball was his suppression and that it's that 2 to 3 hours of game time that help him forget about everything else. He said that no matter how indestructible we look we are, we're all humans at the end of the day. We all got feelings, and sometimes it gets the best of you, where sometimes everything in the world's on top of you. Demar also said that he hopes to inspire those who are going through the same thing as him and inspire them to talk about it with people they know. With all that being said, the NBA is taking steps in the right direction to talk about this glaring problem. Adam Silver has publicly stated that he is shocked that a lot of NBA players are truly unhappy, which is good because identifying the issue is the first step to solving it. In response to this, the league has implemented a new rule which requires teams to add at least one full-time licensed mental health professional, whether it be a psychologist or a behavioral therapist, full-time. A licensed psychiatrist was also made mandatory and will be used to assist whenever they're needed. The National Basketball Players Association announced in 2018 that they had their own health and wellness program headed by psychologist William D. Parham and former NBA player Keon Dooling as the player wellness counselor. These are all great steps in the right direction, and I hope the NBA continues to do more, especially in this social media era where players are more accessible to criticism than ever before. I also hope that these steps the NBA is taking inspires other professional leagues and athletes to do the same and speak up about the issue. To Delonte West, Larry Sanders, Royce White, Kevin Love, Demar Derozan, and any athletes out there struggling with these issues, or any people in general struggling with these issues, I encourage you to speak up about it and to not be afraid to get the help you need. And with all that being said, I'll end this video with a quote from Kevin Love. Mental health isn't just an athlete thing. What you do for a living doesn't have to define who you are. This is an everyone thing. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day or night wherever you are.